Hey guys, this is SniperWolf1001 here with another Robot Damashii review. Now as you can see here, I managed to get my hand on the Kshatriya. I actually picked this thing up at Anime North this year, and when I did, this was actually the last copy of the Kshatriya that was there, so I actually got kinda lucky when I picked this thing up. But anyways, onto the figure itself. As you can see here on the box, we have the NZ666 Kshatriya down there. And of course we have the figure right there in the middle of the box. And then right here we have this cool picture there of the Kshatriya. And of course on the side of the box we have the usual picture of the mobile suit just standing there, looking pretty cool. And this box is really huge. It's very hefty. But anyways, as you can see here, we have this cool picture of the Kshatriya clashing blades with the Unicorn Gundam. And then over here we have this picture of the Kshatriya dispersing its many funnels out. And then right here we have the docking bay of the funnels pushed outwards, and then here we have the Kshatriya up on its stand. And then right here we have the binders closed in, the Kshatriya kind of like in a defensive stance, generating its eye field. And then down here we have the Kshatriya wielding both of its beam sabers, with its thrusters activated. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. Alright. Okay, so here we go with the container. This thing is really huge. But yeah, with the figure inside the container, this thing's looking pretty cool. And of course we have the binders here, the 4 binders on the sides of the Kshatriya. And of course, here we have the thrust effect parts for the thrusters on the back of the binders. And then over here we have a bunch of different hand parts for the Kshatriya. And then here on the secondary container we have the stand here looking really nice with the black and golds, the NZ666 and the Kshatriya's name with the sleeves logo on the top. And up here we have a bunch of different energy effect parts for the funnels themselves. And then over here we have the arm for the stand itself. And then on this side we have a bunch of energy effect parts for the Kshatriya's beam sabers, and of course there are the beam saber handles themselves. So that's all neat. I really love the way that stand looks. It looks really fancy. The Kshatriya's name on it in the black and golds. And of course this figure comes with its own a bunch of clear extension parts. For each of the funnels, you can kind of just display the funnels just flying away from the Kshatriya itself, or just floating in front of it, so it's a really nice addition that they have there. So let's get this thing out of the container. Alright, so with the Kshatriya out of the container, just looking at it so far, this figure color-wise is looking really damn good. Like, all of the greens, the little olive drab greens, looking very solid. I'm not really noticing any color bleed off on any areas, everything looks pretty accurate. And of course we have the little symbols there, the little logos on the figure. And then onto the back of the figure, we have the little skirt there on the back. We have the leg thrusters. There's not too much detail on the insides of the leg thrusters. And up here, a quick close-up of the face, as you can see we have the little Cyclops eye there, kind of lit up a bit. And of course on the chest we have the Mega Particle Cannons with a very bright yellow. And yeah, this figure is looking really damn good. So I guess we'll start off with some articulation. So we'll start from the bottom up. So with the feet, tilting the foot down, as you can see that the foot, it goes down about that far, and then going upward, It goes up about that high. And then, of course, we have that range of motion with the foot mounted on the ball joint there. And then up to the legs. Bending the leg backwards, you have a pretty nice bend there with the leg. I think you can actually go a bit further than that, because this skirt, it can actually come off just like that. So with the skirt part off, you can actually tilt the leg up a lot higher. Like, as you can see, the leg can go up about that high. That's really high there, so that's quite a bit of articulation. And then bending forward. The Kshatriya's leg can go up about, I think, that high. It's not that far, but again, I think the little skirt parts in the front of the leg are kind of blocking it. But it's not that big of a deal. This is a very chunky figure, so you're not going to get the leg up too high in this figure. And then now for some in and out movement of the leg. As you can see here, so we move the arm out of the way. The Kshatriya's leg can go up quite high. Like, that's a very drastic angle. And of course at the bottom of the foot we have some detailing there with the thrusters at the bottom of the feet. But yeah, the figure's leg can go up really high. That's really nice articulation with that nice 90-degree angle. It's very high. And of course another detail on the Kshatriya's leg is that here on the knee parts, these little parts can kind of click in and out, and you can move them up and down slightly. So that's some nice detail there, kind of like the Sinanju, where it had those moving plates on the knee. And of course the little skirts here, they all move independent of each other. So that's all neat. And then now for the chest. So moving the chest downwards, the chest seems to go down about that far. So that's not too drastic, like, it's kind of a slight bend down. But now bending backwards, again, just like the forward bend, the Kshatriya doesn't really go that far. So there is some limitation there going back and forward. And then now for twisting it from side to side. As you can see, we have a lot of movability there, going side to side, like as you can see, like the figure is almost completely sideways. The chest is just all the way out to the leg, so it's kind of like the Sinanju's bend actually. So that's really nice. Got some decent flexibility there. And then now onto the arms. Bending the arm upward. As you can see, the arm goes up pretty high. It goes all the way up to the shoulder. So that's some pretty nice movability there. And then now for some in and out movement. The arm can go up really, really high, really, really far out to the side, so that's some really good movement there with the arms. So we got some nice movability on the figure for the most part. And then now onto the head of the Kshatriya. Bending the head down. As you can see, the head goes down, it points down about that far. And then pointing upward, you can see that the Kshatriya can look quite high. That's a really high bend with the head, so that's really nice. And of course we have really drastic range of motion there with the head rotating on that ball joint there. So it's some really good movement we have with the head there. Alright, so now on to the Kshatriya's binders. So again, just like the figure, the paint on the binders looks really good. Like the olive drab greens, there's no bleed off or anything. The thing looks very solid. So Robot Damashii did a really good job with the paints on this thing. And on the back here we have a lot of detailing here. Like here we have the thrusters. There's not too much color on the thrusters. They're kind of like a bluish gray color almost. There's not too much detail on the interior of it. But on the thrusters we have some movability. Like as you can see here, we can move the thrusters like around. We have like a nice range of motion there with thrusters. So you can kind of display the thrusters kind of like in any position there. And of course we have the energy effect parts, the thrust effect parts. And you can just mount them in just like that. You just push it into the thrusters. And it doesn't really go in with any struggle, it goes in pretty easily. And yeah, doing that to the other thruster as well. Like obviously here you can just display the binder, kind of with its thrusters activated, kind of giving the figure a sense of lift. So that's really nice. And then of course, we have a little arm part here, a little hook part here. That part can rotate around, can move up and down. And of course that part, it mounts into these parts on the shoulder of the Kshatriya. And then obviously here we have the many, we have the docking base for the many funnels here that the Kshatriya has. And then down below the funnels we have the sub-arm. As you can see, we just pull it out like that. And then of course we can pull it out of this part here, which is actually another movable part. You can pull this part down and then mount that part, connect that part back into that piece. And then with that piece moved down, you can kind of just display the sub-arm extended away from the figure itself, just like that. And then if you wanted to, if you bend the sub-arm backwards like that, you can actually display the sub-arm going through the gap at the bottom of the binder. So you can kind of just have the sub-arm extended very, very far away from the binder, just like that. And of course, on the sub-arm itself, it has a little claw on the inside, and you can just pull it out just like that. So that's a nice detail there on the binder. And then another feature about the docking base here is that you can actually push the docking bay out just like this. So you can kind of have the Kshatriya getting ready to, you know, fire its funnels out. So that's really cool. I like the mechanics on the binder there. And of course we have the mega particle cannons on the binders, of course, with that bright yellow color, just like on the chest of the Kshatriya. So yeah, that's really neat there. And then, of course, going back onto the funnels, you can of course just pull out the funnels just like that. And yeah, of course, if you wanted to, like I said before, you could just attach the funnels to their extension parts and their thrust parts to have them displayed away from the figure. And now onto some accessories. As you can see here, the Kshatriya comes with a bunch of hand parts, and default with the figure out of the box, the figure comes with a clenched fist hand just already mounted in for its default pose. But it also has some extras here. As you can see, we have another hand here which is similar to its clenched fist, but obviously it has like a hole on the inside, so this would be to, you would use this hand to hold its beam saber. One of its beam sabers, and of course the coloring detail in the hand is really nice. We have those solid olive drabs on the top plate of the hand, and of course the figures are like a dark brown color with a lot of segments in between them. And then here we have another hand part. And thus this part has its thumb sticking up, so this is supposed to be for its other beam saber handles. And of course we have another hand piece here, open palmed hand for some action poses. So those are some neat options. And then here, taking a quick look at the Kshatriya's beam sabers. Of course we have the handles here first. And again, there's not too much to them, it's fairly simplistic, the colors look good. And then here we have the other beam saber, the blue one. A more traditional beam saber here. And yeah, these are fairly basic, not too much to them. The colors look good. And then onto the effect parts themselves. You just mount these pieces in pretty easily, just like that. And these beam sabers look really good. Like, we have that very nice translucent green, looking very, very, very bright. And the blade itself is very long too, so that's all cool. And of course we have the other beam effect part here. Again, just like the greens, these look really good with the very bright pink color here, very translucent, just like the green blade. And then of course we have a little, I guess, power surge there at the base of the handle itself. So yeah, that's a really, these sabers look really nice. And the mounting points on the saber effect parts seem to be very sturdy too, so it doesn't seem like these are going to break or anything, which is always a plus. And then here we take a quick look at the thrust effect parts for the funnels. As you can see here, they're very clear, with a nice blue effect part here, and then we have a different shaped one, a very wide one. Of course, the funnel goes into the front of it, while the extension part goes into the back. Alright, so here we have the Kshatriya, with all of its binders mounted in. And the figure just looks really top-notch. Robot Damashii did a really damn good job with this figure. Like, with all of the binders in and everything, this figure looks really amazing. And then, of course, with some more articulation, with the binders mounted in, you can see here we have a lot of range of motion here with the binders themselves. Like, as you can see, we can just rotate them from side to side. And of course, you can adjust their upward and downward angles as well, too. You can have them tilted all the way up, just like that. Or you can just close them all the way in, just like that. Which is cool. You can do that to all the other ones, of course. And then if you wanted to, you could close all of the binders in to kind of simulate that defensive stance, like on the back of the box here. Just like this. And this looks really cool. The Kshatriya kind of generating its eye field with its binders here. And then here we have the Kshatriya with its docking bays and the binders all opened up. So it's kind of like the Kshatriya is getting ready to disperse all of its many funnels to just obliterate some fools. So that's pretty cool. And then here we have all of the subarms deployed from all 4 of the binders in this position. And I suppose if you wanted to, you could try placing a beam saber in each claw to kind of have her doing a long-range slashing attack. So I suppose you have some options there in this stance by using the auxiliary arms to wield her beam sabers. And then of course, with the binders, you can actually rotate them in a circular motion around the arms too to kind of position the binders any way you want. So here with the subarms deployed, you can kind of have the Kshatriya looking almost like a giant claw, like kind of like the Kshatriya is getting ready to entrap one of its foes. You see you have the claws all deployed and everything, so this looks really cool. And of course you can flip them the other way too, so you can have the Kshatriya getting ready to fire off its mega particle cannons. Alright, so here we have the Kshatriya here up on the stand, wielding both of its beam sabers. And the hands are actually pretty good. They actually do a good job holding the beam saber handles themselves. Like, as you can see, they're nice and secure, they aren't wobbling around or anything. And the sabers go in pretty easily, too. You just slide them in, and this one has the thumb mounted over that handle there, so it's just nice and secure. You just rotate this thing around so you can get a good look of it. So yeah, this figure looks really, really cool like this. Alright, so here we have the Kshatriya's subarm wielding one of its beam saber handles. And with this figure, this is not a very, I guess, practical thing to do, because if I rotate this figure around here real quick, if we look onto the claw of the subarm, if you notice, the subarm doesn't really do that great of a job of holding the beam saber handle itself. Like, obviously, because the beam saber handle is, you know, too thin for it. Like, pretty much the way that I was having it hold it before was, I kind of just had it wedged in just like that by its own weight. So I guess the beam saber handle is long enough to fit in there. So this is still somewhat of a viable thing to do. Like, it's still an option, because as you can see, I was rotating the figure and it wasn't falling out or anything. So that's still an option. And then here we have the Kshatriya with all of its extension parts mounted into the binders, the docking bays. And of course we took all the funnels out and mounted them onto their own individual extension parts with their thrust effect parts in. So you just have the Kshatriya just sending out all of its funnels, getting ready to obliterate some fools. And of course we have the thrusters in there as well. And this pose just looks really cool. And the extension parts mount in very tightly, so there's no worry of them falling out. And one thing I find kind of interesting is how there's still 3 extension parts left over, even after mounting all of the other ones into the binders. But the thing is that they don't have enough thrust effect parts to go with these extension parts, so it's like you can't really display any extras on the back binders. And yeah, they only really give you enough for about 12 of the 24 funnels that the Kshatriya actually has. So it's I just find it kind of funny. Like, I guess you could use these as extra replacement parts. Say for example, somehow one of the extension parts breaks, or you know, you lose one of them, you can use this as extras, I suppose. But yeah, this is just really cool. The Kshatriya just has a crap ton of funnels, and you can just display them all flying out. And of course you could just do them anywhere. And you don't have to do them all in one binder. You can, if you wanted to have them all coming out of each binder, you could kind of just, you know, pick and choose where you want to put them. So it's still an option. And then here's just a close-up of the extension parts. As you can see, the extension parts mounted into the docking bays of the funnels, and then of course the funnels on their thrust effect parts there. So yeah, this looks really, really neat. There's quite a bit of attention to detail here. Alright, so here I'm just doing a quick comparison with my Sinanju figure that I picked up a while ago. And yeah, it's really neat having both of these figures from the same series together. Like, as you can see, there's a nice size comparison here. Like, the Kshatriya is just really freaking massive with those binders and everything. Like, a lot larger than the Sinanju is. And I do plan on picking up the Unicorn Gundam and the Banshee at some point to go along with the whole series. Alright, so now that that's all out of the way, now for my final thoughts about this mobile suit. To be honest, there's not all that much to say. Like, everything, I pretty much liked everything about the Kshatriya here. I didn't really notice any problems with joints. Like, all the joints seemed to be tight, but not too tight. They were just the right amount of tension, everything locked in pretty easily. All of the colors on the figure looked perfect. Like, there weren't any issues that I had with the colors. The accessories were really nice, like the beam sabers, they looked really good. There weren't any issues with the hands holding the beam sabers. And in terms of posability, surprisingly, this figure was quite flexible. And it's actually kind of funny when you look back to the Robot Damashii Destiny Gundam, because that Destiny Gundam is a lot less chunky than the Kshatriya, but it has less posability than it. I just find that kind of strange, but yeah, the Kshatriya was quite the flexible figure, so that's another plus in my book. And I guess my favorite part about this mobile suit was the binders. There were a lot of things that you could do with the binders, like extending the sub-arms, like how they had the docking bays for the funnels, displaying the funnels flying outwards from the figure, and like the movability of the binder on the figure itself. Like, everything moved very fluidly there, and yeah, there was just a lot of attention to detail with this figure on the binder. So, if you guys were looking for a Kshatriya and you're interested in the Robot Damashii version, I definitely do think that this is a very safe purchase because, like I said before, I haven't had any issues with it. Everything seemed to be perfect and spot on, so you guys won't be disappointed. And I do plan on picking up the Kshatriya Repair when that comes out, so I will be doing a review on that, so hopefully you guys look forward to that. And here's a quick Gundam Extreme Versus comparison with my Kshatriya. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, I hope you found it informative, and I'll see you guys later.
私は12番目の妹ではない。マリーナ・クルスという名を与えられた無二の存在だ。